Okay. Greetings. Good evening, Ivona. So, let me just get over here a second. I'm just setting up. Just be a little quickie here. Greetings. This is TarotLumination. It is Monday evening here, 23rd. Hello, Esther. Hi. I know, crazy. Going absolutely berserk here. So it's Monday night. It's the 23rd of October, 2023. And I felt obliged I had to report again about this Scorpio-Taurus energy that's coming up. I already put up a video for November the 13th because that's the Scorpio new moon. And I'm seeing a lot of stress in the global financial system. Extreme stress. And that Scorpio new moon is going to be opposing the Uranus and Jupiter energy over there in Taurus. So we're looking at the financial axis, the second house and the eighth house, the money houses, Taurus and Scorpio. Taurus is your money, your real money, your sweat, your value, your values, your hard cash, your assets, like if you own your house outright, if you own your car outright, if you own gold and silver, if you own beautiful things, beautiful art, your computers, your toys, your gadgets, your education, your talent, your gifts, things that have value or great value. And then there's the eighth house of other people's money. That's where people often get sucked into a problem where you take everything of genuine value that you own and that has multiple ways of being expressed and shared and expanded, and so you can learn and grow from there. Excuse me. I still have a few allergy things twitching around. And because a lot of people don't want to deal with finances or their own finances, they trust things like the bank, their financial consultant, their pension fund, their life insurance package, they trust the people who are lending on the car loans and the mortgage payments and the credit cards and the business loans, and they trust the institutions that make all this stuff happen, allegedly for your best interests. Sometimes only to find later on that their life is turned into a nightmare of debt and financial chaos because they trusted people and they built up these very powerful, very profound relationships simply out of conditioning and being conditioned. And everybody in the world is starting to figure out that this is a big, big problem. It's not just you, it's the whole world is dealing with the phenomenon of fake money. It's the global financial fiat money system. You have to do your own research. What is fiat money? F-I-A-T. It's made up. Fiat is Latin for it's to make. So it's like you can make it up. It's like make-believe. It's what you tell people it is. Money is what we believe it to be. And if we are heavily conditioned and trained and educated to believe that money is a certain way, only to discover later on that it's just the opposite, and instead of being something to enhance your life, and all those banks and institutions are there to enhance your life, what they're doing is they are farming you. They are extracting wealth from you. They are milking you as if you are a debt cow. From their perspective, it doesn't matter if you're making $400,000 a year as a Google high-tech guy or something, or a civil engineer in Orange County making highways and bridges, or if you work for Raytheon and you're designing weapons and you're making $750,000 a year, or you're a manager or something, as far as they're concerned, you're still a debt cow because you're earning, and a lot of people spend. If a lot of people who earn a lot of money spend a lot of money, they think, well, we got to make big investments. We got to set up a huge pension fund, huge savings plan, huge life insurance, a huge mortgage, huge car payments, huge credit cards, huge college loans. I think I said that, and business loans and everything. It's just bigger. If you have more money, it just means there's more zeros that follow your name when it comes to the world of OPM, other people's money, the banks and the bankers. If you're at the very, very bottom of the income scale in America, it's the same thing. They're still siphoning. You're still being milked. And the way they like to do that is with taxes, inflation, and debt. It all works in a big mishmash. There's all sorts of ways you can study it. But right now, tonight, I just wanted to do a very short, kind of sweet, perhaps a little bit of a scary video about the impending scary stuff that I see in the charts. So I'm not going to go into the physics of all this eclipse thing. We just had the solar new moon eclipse, and that had a different chart behind me. So this is a full moon eclipse. So it's quite different. So there's the sun, okay? There's the earth, and the earth is eclipsing the light to the moon. It's like the moon disappears. The moon is eclipsed by the earth. So when eclipses happen, it can often feel very, very sudden. Like we've had a few people come to the channel recently, and some big shifts came upon suddenly. It's like there's a build-up, and you're not quite sure what's happening. It's building up. There's a pressure and pressure and pressure, and then suddenly, kaboom! Things are eclipsed. Something is disappeared. If I'm using disappeared as a verb here, something is disappeared, something is eclipsed, which leaves a vacuum, and in that vacuum, something else is coming in that replaces what was eclipsed. And that's evolution. I think of eclipses as evolutionary gateways. Full moon, new moon, either way, it's an evolutionary gateway. And they come upon us suddenly. There's typically 4 eclipses a year, sometimes 5. Recently we had 6. Anyway, we've got one coming up this weekend, okay? And it is on the 28th. It's a Saturday. Over here in Las Vegas, it's going to be Saturday, like in the middle of the day. Over in England, it'll be earlier. Over in Australia, it'll be wait a minute. Anyway, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to. Don't quote me. But anyway, it's on Saturday, depending on where you live, give or take. 12 hours, 18 hours, according to your time zone. But let me show you my Astrodoodle. Okay? Let's have a look. Okay. Oh dear. I didn't fill it all in because it would just be too frightening, too scary. And so I just added, some lines with some air in between it. So this is my Astrodoodle for the 28th of October, the full moon eclipse, where the sun is blazing away doing its thing, and the moon is being eclipsed by this thing, Earth. So what's happening here? Full moons typically bring things to a point of illumination, to a crescendo, to a point of full awareness, where things have fully come up to a cycle, like a rising tide. Think of the tides, for example. The moon lifts the tides all day, every day, up and down, up and down. I used to live in a place over here in England. This is jolly old England, but there's this very specific place here. Okay, you can't really see it. I'm sorry, the map isn't showing up very well. But the tides in this area are very extreme because it's a tight channel, and there are these huge currents that come through the Atlantic, and then they go zooming through here, in and out. Tides in, tides out, in, out, every day. And you have to be a really good navigator to deal with these tides. And then you go into a little town over here called Bristol, and there is a channel that's very long and narrow. And the tides go up the Bristol Channel, and then down the Bristol Channel, up the Bristol Channel, down the Bristol Channel. And I have a friend who lives right by the docks in Bristol. And every day, several times a day, the tides go up, the tides go down. And when I'm talking about tides, we're looking at an 8 or 10 or even 12-foot tide from low tide to high tide. Goes up and goes down. So just think of that. Think of the trillions and trillions and trillions of gallons of water that are being lifted up by the gravitational pull of the moon and then lowered by the gravitational the moon. Affects the moon all day, every day, all across the earth in perpetual motion. So it is a very powerful phenomenon. So anyway, that's all just doing it. It just does its thing, you know. The moon, the sun and the moon and the planets are doing their thing. But when things reach full moon, it's like a culmination. Things come into awareness. Like typically the energy near a new moon, there's a sense of like almost like an eerie silence just before the new moon, and then silence and like a calmness at the new moon, and then a calmness coming out of the new moon, and then the energy starts to expand, and you can start to feel the flow as if the tide is being lifted. And it takes 2 weeks for the moon to go from the new moon to the full moon. So in this case here, we're already halfway through. We just had the new moon eclipse over here in Libra. So we're going over here 2 weeks later. So we're looking at oppositions, and with opposition, everything becomes very stark and aware. There's nowhere to hide. It's the energy of open enemies. It's the energy of, like if you say, like there's the sun and there's the moon and they're doing their thing, and then they reach the full moon, it's like this. There's nowhere to hide. It's face on. Like just imagine that. It's like let's say I am in a room with you and you are in a room with me, and I'm over here leading up to the full moon, and then I'm right here in your face at the full moon, and then I start to fade away after the full moon. But it's that moment of full opposition where there's nowhere to hide, where everything becomes very stark and clear and obvious, manifested. It's culminated, for better or worse, for everybody, for everything. So, just a question, is your IQ way above average? I have no idea, Esther. I remember I had an IQ test when I was a young lad, and I think I was in England, or I was in maybe Akron, Ohio, and it said 120. I don't know if that's good or bad. My brother is 180. My sister is 140. So anyway, it's just a bunch of numbers. But anyway, so we've got this full moon eclipse right here. So it's full on. It's completely stark. There's nowhere to hide. It's going to be very obvious. And what I feel is going to happen is that there's going to be some kind of very, very obvious, stark, highly stressful, highly scary thing happening in the global financial system. And this thing here is happening 2 weeks before the Scorpio new moon, when the moon gets all the way back over here. At that time, the sun is going to be at, let me just check. At the Scorpio new moon, we've already done the video on this, but the sun will be at roughly like 20 degrees, you know. So it's fully matured. compared to where we are now. Anyway, so I just kind of want to give you a heads up. We're already dealing with tumultuous energy regarding global relationships between countries and populations and cultures. Like right now, it's the, the thing in the Middle East. Let's put it that way. The very, very contentious war that's going on, that's been going on for 3,000 years between these basically tribes. And we're just coming into another chapter of the same old war. Very toxic, very, very hyper-stressed relationships that reach explosive levels. And that's what I believe is we're going to see in the global financial system. There's going to be some kind of extreme, like an earthquake in the financial system. Remember, Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, shocks, awakenings, just like what's happening with planet Earth, with all the volcanoes, earthquakes, fires, flooding, drought, more earthquakes, hurricane, all of that stuff, especially earthquakes and the tectonic plates. It's being really, really shaken up right now. And that's what's happening in the global financial system. Multiply that up with Jupiter, multiply that up with the moon, and it gets a little bit scary. Yeah. So money, big money, plays a huge part in the war dynamics that we're seeing across the world right now. There's the war that we're seeing right over here, this one, okay? The Middle East. There's the big war over here, Eastern Europe, and there's the pending war over here in Asian Pacific area. And all of these are profoundly connected to the global financial system, because a lot of this pressure that's and the tension that's happening today is because we have a global financial system that is basically owned and operated and propagated by the United States Federal Reserve banking system, along with the United States Treasury and the United States federal government. They all work as a trio. And well, I'm trying not to say the words. I'm trying not to use the words about these wars. I'm trying to be very careful. Oh, hi. Hold on. Sorry, little Bubba. He's just checking all my notes here, making sure everything's good. Okay, Bubba. So over here is the water. It's over here. No, this one. No, this one, Bubba. This one. Anyway. So he's just doing a routine check. Okay. So all of those things, remember, war is money. Big money. And there are what are called warmongers that are very thirsty and active right now. And I did a video on that. Who benefits from these wars? In the United States, for example, it would be the warmongers who are very closely associated with the war machines, the military-industrial complex. That would be the weapons builders, for example, and all the logistics builders. In other words, Raytheon, McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and General Motors. Those are the four basics. There's more, there's lots more, but there's basically about 4 or 5 really big, enormous operators in the military-industrial complex in the United States. And what I believe is happening is that people all over the world are so connected right now that they are starting to realize that they're all being played. It's like, we're all being played, people. We're being played by them. They are playing us because they can. It's fun for them. They are above us. They are the people who own the earth. Not own the earth. They own They own. How can I put this? They own what we consider the earth, if you consider that humans are basically, the population here on earth. And, there's a little Bubba. It's getting messed up with the lights. Hi, Bubba. Don't worry, I'll come and catch up with you later. I'm not going to be here too long, all right? So, I'm trying not to mention the names because it's such an inflammatory thing right now, and I'm already in enough trouble as it is. So all I'm saying is that there are 3 major wars that are bubbling up. And there are certain people who are salivating right now because it means big, big bucks, big, big, big business. And all the people who die, that's just like an inconvenience. That's just collateral damage. And all of this war mongering, it's you could almost say it's all planned out. It sounds really absurd, but there are certain people who've been waiting for this moment. And the golden opportunity arrived a couple of years ago when Grandpa Joe took hold of the supposedly running this country, and there's a global consensus right now that he's the laughing stock of the world because he is openly destroying America with his policies all across the world. It's almost shocking. There are like the big players, the really big players that are not American. They're looking at America and go like, what the hell is America doing? What on earth are you people doing in America? You are so effed up. Well, guess what? It's all planned out. It's all planned out. It's a policy. It's an agenda. The enemy is within, okay? And the enemy is working very, very hard within to fulfill the agenda for those folks, the ones up there. And so what I'm sensing is, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Perhaps it'll be a global financial currency crisis. Perhaps something like Argentina will implode. The economy's already collapsed. Venezuela's already collapsed. Lebanon, Turkey, a few other places that are imploding. And a few other places that I would never have imagined. Hungary and Poland, which are very, very conservative countries, got scammed, suckered, bribed into the Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI. You would never have thought, but they did it. They betrayed their own people. Anyway, it's kind of everything's very, very unstable right now because primarily the global financial system is unstable. It is literally going through tectonic shock right now, and who knows where it's going to break apart. It's inevitable that it's going to implode in some way. If you could see what's going on over in CHINA, it is a massive implosion. If you think it's bad in the USA, it's much worse over there. And the only way out they have is to print more money. But they can't. They're so overprinted already. So what they're trying to do is present a facade to the world that we've got infinite supplies of money and we're the best thing that ever happened. And we're going to set you up, baby. You're going to be part of the BRI, and then we're going to lend you these paper tokens that look very important, and then you're going to pay us back with real assets and real money, your sweat. We're going to basically take your country. We're going to give you a bunch of yuan confetti, and then you're going to give us your country, your assets, your resources. And people are dumb enough to go for that scam. But anyway, it's kind of scary. The epicenter of the convulsions are right here in the United States, because the United States, they are the originators, the propagators, the promoters, the proliferators of the current system that has kind of reached an end game. Nobody knows where it's going to go. Well, actually, we should speculate a little bit. It's like with Keynesian economics. The whole idea is like, oh, if we've got a problem in our country, what we should do is the government should step in and start spending money onto the people. Let's give them, food. Let's give them benefits. Let's give them security. All these amazing things and benefits, and people love it. Free money. In other words, good old-fashioned vote for me, and I will save you. Just keep paying your taxes. I will just inflate the currency just like they did in Argentina and Venezuela. It's going to look amazing for a while until it all implodes. And so that's happening already in certain countries, but it's also happening in the United States. The thing is, the closer that you are to the printing press, the later that you're going to feel the implosion. And so the United States is the epicenter of the printing press. So out of, whatever it is, 350 million people who live here, most of them are oblivious to what's happening because they've all been born and raised, we've all been born and raised to be debt cows. That's how it works with fiat money. And they milk us. They milk us. But the plan is reaching an end game because, like in the United States, people are realizing, man, I can't afford to remortgage. I can't afford to rebuy a car. I can't afford to sell my house because I'll never get the price that I think is worth because the whole market is collapsing. And I believe what's going to happen is the interest rates are going to be jacked up higher and higher, because that's the only way you can slow down the explosion, the implosion. But it doesn't even matter anymore because the debt is so big that it can only go this way. And the basic tools of the Fed start to become useless. It's just like, it's not working anymore. All that's happening in the United States is the very, very early stages of a slow motion controlled demolition. You also have to remember that they already know that this is happening, but they have to control the implosion and the demolition in such a way that they don't go down, everyone else goes down. They come in and grab all the super ultra cheap assets from everyone's lives who's been destroyed, and they start the whole game again. It's a game to them. Destroy the economy, buy it all up cheap, start again, inflate, bam, and it goes up and down. It's like an organism. Anyway, so the thing is, we've reached a point where it's almost impossible to take it any further. And the world has never been here before because the world has never been so interconnected financially. Everything across the world is now financially interconnected. What happens in the United States financial system affects everyone else in the world. And a lot of people have figured out, like, oh my God, now I understand how it works. That's not cool. That is not cool for me in my other country that's not America. And so that's why these other countries are starting to form what's called the BRICS nations alignment. And I think it's good luck to them because they're going to need an awful lot of luck, because what's happening is the United States is still printing huge amounts of money, but interest rates are jacked up. So the United States dollar is still the safest place to go, if you can believe that. That's what's so disturbing. It's so frightening. And yet it's the ultimate perpetrator. The whole thing just looks like a massive implosion to me. And so I'm calling it out. We've got like a ticking clock here. But next weekend, we're going to see a moment of critical mass astrologically, which is directly correlated to the global financial system, especially here in the United States. Also, if anyone wants to do it, you might want to research which countries are, you know how sometimes people do astrology for a country? Which countries are ruled by Scorpio? Which countries are ruled by Taurus? I have not done that homework. But it might be interesting to find out, because those are the countries that would be most obviously impacted. Anyway, so we've got these ticking clock events happening. We've got the full moon eclipse this Saturday, and 2 weeks later we have the Scorpio new moon eclipse. So it's still the 8th house of other people's money. And of course, in America, we have the problem with in Congress, where there's the, what do they call it, the debt ceiling, and everything is in this state of paralysis right now because the relationships are so dysfunctional in Washington. Everybody knows what's wrong, but nobody knows how to fix it. And so everyone's like squabbling around, running around because they've been through similar scenarios many times before, but nothing like the big one that's happening right now. And anybody who's watching knows that this is bad. It's really, really bad. The current administration basically wants a permission to print money to infinity and essentially destroy the dollar, inflate it into oblivion of nothingness, just like they do in Venezuela and Argentina. That's their game plan. That's what this administration wants to do, which is part of the plan to destroy the America that we love and know. Well, at least I love it. A lot of people don't. I think I'll leave it like that. I don't want to scare people. I've been here enough, and I don't know who's here. I haven't really checked. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll just leave you one last glimpse. Here it is. This is my astrodoodle for Saturday the 28th. This looks like really bad news to me. The global financial system, especially with the United States, especially with the wars. And 2 weeks later, we have the video that I already made for the Scorpio new moon. Okay. So, thank you very much for watching. Have a super evening. We'll do this again another time.